Today, for Primetime Local News, I'm joined with musician and charity founder Robb Nash to talk about his charity, the Robb Nash Project, that aims at helping Alberta students with their mental health. So thank you so much, Robb, for joining us here today.
Thank you.
So first, I thought we'd start off with what this project is all about and what you can tell us about it.
Yeah, so for me, it started off, I played music, as you might notice by some of the stuff behind me. We had a couple top 10 hits on the radio, but for me, I didn't want to be a musician growing up. For me, I want to tell my story. I went through some stuff when I was a teenager. I was in a major car accident. I was suicidal. I was self-harming. Nobody knew. None of my friends knew. None of my family knew. And I made it through that dark time, but I thought to myself, how many other people are like me? They're going through those same dark thoughts and not talking about it. And I thought, I need to tell my story. So I decided music would be a good way to tell a story. So I started a band, did our first album. I thought I sounded good. I thought I was a good writer, but it was just okay. And after a few albums, we got a record deal. We had a few top 10 hits on the radio. And then I got this opportunity to do a 9-month tour through schools, just me and my guitar telling my story. And I walked away from my record deal. Everyone thought I was crazy. When you walk away from a record deal, you just owe money. You don't have a dollar in your pocket. I just felt like it was the right thing to do. And after that 9-month tour, other schools started calling other communities, prisons, youth detention centers. And so I formed a charity called the Robb Nash Project, and we started taking donations, and the shows started getting bigger and bigger. And we started seeing massive breakthroughs. We do the shows, we tell stories, play songs. And afterwards I'd be standing with school counselors, and we actually had 917 young people came up after the shows, and they handed us their suicide notes saying, "Here, I don't need this anymore." And then they'd walk off with the school counselor and get the help that they needed. And a lot of those students would tattoo the lyrics of our songs on their arms where they used to cut. So I took all the names and the signatures from those suicide notes and I tattooed them on my arms. And I was just like, because I feel like when we talk about mental health, we seem to only talk about, or we focus on the suicides. When we talk about addiction, we only talk about the overdoses. And yes, we can learn from tragedy, but we have to balance that with stories of victory and triumph, So that's what our tour did. And then it was getting bigger. Our last shows, like in March 2019, just before the pandemic shut everything down, we did 2 shows at the exhibition center for 31 schools in your area. Medicine Hat Arena, and then we walked off stage and it felt like the whole world ended. And I knew that this was going to be really tough on people's mental health being in isolation like this. So we had to find a new way to get our message out there.
Absolutely. And how are you guys hoping to help Alberta students today?
What we did is we put together a film crew, and we decided to follow up with some of these students, like where are they now? And it took a lot to put it together. Actually, TELUS was one of the first companies. They had partnered with us before, and they reached out. They have a TELUS Friendly Future Foundation that they put things together. They've supported us in the past. And they said, we want to help you. And it was very interesting how they approached us. TELUS came up and they said, at the most recent mental health report, so that Alberta has the lowest mental health score among all provinces. And I get their foundation supports organizations like ours that work with at-risk youth. And they said, so we want to help you build this program, this curriculum, so that we can get into schools, into Alberta. And it was so pure. It was like, they were talking about the kids. They were talking about how to get the help. And sometimes it's hard to get people's motives when there's foundations involved. And, but it was just so pure. They've been absolutely wonderful. So they donated $40,000 towards this cause. And they helped us get this off the ground. And we beta tested this curriculum in 4 different provinces. And then we took the feedback and then we beta tested it again. And the feedback has been incredible. As basically students sit in the class, they watch my ugly face on their TV screen at the front of the class. I tell my story, and then the students journal. What was Robb's struggle? What was his breakthrough? How did he get help? And how is he helping other people? And then they watch some of the student stories. And by the end, they ask in the journals, it says, what's your struggle? Where could you find your breakthrough? How could you get help? And the staff of the schools, they're so moved because they said they can't believe the stuff that the kids are pouring out into these journals. And they say a lot of these kids are flying under the radar. And then we've got great partnerships with Kids Help Phone and CMHA in the schools as well with the counselors to make sure that they get the follow-up help that they need.
It sounds like you guys have got such a positive response so far from starting this new leg of your foundation. So can you go a little bit more into detail about how this student response has been since you've released this new film segment of it?
The teachers are saying, as these kids, this is what I found most intriguing, I guess, is of the kids that were really opening up and saying, I'm struggling with my mental health. I think I need help. The staff are saying that they were only aware of about 30% of them. That means about 70% were flying under the radar. So teachers are saying, I've worked with this kid for the last 3 years and I didn't know that she was going through that. I didn't know that he was going through that. So it's this way of drawing these stories out from the students, because for me, I've always said it, you don't want to hold this stuff inside, even tears. You got to flush that stuff out sometimes. I'm a 6'5" dude covered in tattoos and a mohawk. And I love showing that it's okay to be tough and rugged on the outside and still be vulnerable and full of grace and love on the inside. And it's okay to showcase that.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story and more about this project.
And thank you for being on our team and letting us share this.